All right, and we're recording. So thank you everyone for joining. This is the November 2025 edition of the Madison Fabric User Group. We've got a super exciting presentation lined up today with Scott and Elliot. They are going to be covering Power BI design with Figma. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to you guys to maybe do a quick intro here and we can get going.
Yeah. All right, I will kick us off. Hello, everyone. My name is Elliot, and I'm a consultant at Baker Tilly in the Advanced Business Technology Solutions practice. And I've been with Baker Tilly a little over 2 years now. And during my time here, I've had experience not only working with data analytics and visualization, but also designing and prototyping in Figma, which is why we're here today. So I'm excited to show you one of the ways that Figma can be leveraged, which is specifically for creating Power BI mockups and wireframes within your Power BI dashboard creation projects. And with that, I'll pass it off to Scott.
Awesome. Thanks, Elliot. Yeah, Scott Joelson, a senior manager on the same team with Elliot. As mentioned, like we're consultants. We're helping our clients move forward their data strategies and their data management, data warehouses, data viz, and trying to help them create value for the business and create positive outcomes. So yeah, super excited to talk through really dashboard design today. And whether it's you're using Power BI or any other BI tool, we found that leveraging Figma has been pretty awesome at advancing and expediting and moving those design items forward so we can get to the development and get out to adoption sooner. So we'll talk through all of that, our experiences throughout the next hour.
Awesome. And the agenda today, we are going to start with an introduction to Figma. So what is Figma? And then some of the core concepts for creating designs in Figma. Then we'll go into how we can use Figma for creating mockups and wireframes and how this shortens the dashboard requirements to Power BI dashboard creation pipeline, and also how it strengthens confidence when building out those final reports and dashboards. And finally, we'll go into some live demos and we'll show how to create those Power BI mockups and wireframes, how you can export those wireframes from Figma and then import them into Power BI. And then last but not least, we'll explore Figma Make, which is one of their new tools that is focused on AI-powered design and how that can be used for generating new ideas and inspiration. So what is Figma? It is a suite of design tools. And today we're going to just be focusing on their design file, which is here on the left. And then lastly, Make here, which is their new integrated AI tool. But it allows people to work together in real time to create designs. And it has a lot of various plugin tools that you can use within Figma that are really cool, but we won't really dive into those today. But it's just overall a really good design tool that you can leverage within your companies. The first core design concept that I want to dive into are frames. And frames act as containers for organizing visual elements within a specific design. And they enable auto layout. And you can think of auto layout as an equivalent to Flexbox for those who work in web development. So the idea is you have all of these design buttons and headers and text right within this frame. And if you resize that frame based off different screen sizes, then all of those elements within that frame will resize accordingly. So that's the importance of frames. Styles are exactly what you would expect. It's just colors and text effects within a design that you can apply. But the tool that I like to use the most that's really powerful is variables. And variables are important because they're a step up from styles. You can take styles and assign them to variables. And then what happens is you can take those variables then and assign those to your design elements. And so then down the road, if you want to maybe change multiple elements in your designs, then because you've assigned this variable to all of those elements, all you have to do is change out what that variable is assigned to, and it will update all of those respective design elements. I will be demoing this in a second as well. And last but not least are components. These are reusable design elements, and when you create a component, you can then publish it to what is called a library in Figma. And this library contains all of those design element assets that you can then search and pull into your design files for reuse. So with that, I will go into my quick little demo. All right. You all can see this, correct?
Looks good. Yep.
Cool. All right. So all of these that I'm selecting here are frames in Figma. And within them, I have added this header and subtext and these tags and buttons. And because this is all within this frame, then as I resize this frame, you can see everything is resizing accordingly. So that is the power of frames. It would be the auto layout feature here. Next, I wanted to show that there are styles in Figma, so you can see them on the right. I've created some styles that are pretty basic here. We've got a header 1, header 2, body, some white and black text, and I've added some effects in here as well. So what you can do is you can go into your designs and you can apply those styles. So you can see here, I have applied a header 1 color style, but a step up from that would be variables. So I have this white color style here on the right, but I've now assigned it to a button background variable. And so what I can do instead is go in and now assign this button background variable, which is then assign this white style. And then down the road, if I say, no, I no longer want my button background variable to be white, I want it to be, I don't know, let's change it to a fun color. Let's do blue. Oh. Or we'll do purple. You can see it's changing, but it's also updating across all these other designs because that's going into my next concept, which is components. So this right here is a component because it has this cool diamond icon. And because I've made this a component, then when I create copies of that component, then all of those copies will update because a component is equivalent to a master version of that design element. So all of these other designs are updating accordingly. And those are all the design concepts that I wanted to share today. So any questions?
And Elliot, do you want to show how once you make a component, it's it'll show up in the asset library for the assets?
Yep. If I go to assets, I search for city frame, you can see it is a component, so it's in my design library. I can select it and insert the instance. And like I was showing before, because now this is an instance of this master version, this component, then anything that I update in this component will subsequently be updated in all of these instances of that component.
Yeah, awesome. I mean,
cool.
We just want to give you guys a baseline on the ABCs of the basics of Figma, and then and you can already see kind of the reusable library assets that now you can share out potentially with other designers, and they can drag and drop assets right off, right onto their own canvas for their own kind of personal use case that they're building something or designing something. And then we can use all those same concepts for Power BI. And so I will.
Oh, do you want to share this time?
No, go
Okay.
for it. Thank
Very
you.
cool. Yep.
All right, awesome. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of things we can do with Figma, right? From a product design or product, from designing BI and websites and all sorts of things, right? So if we narrow it down for probably the couple big use cases for how, leveraging Figma for Power BI, by all means, we're not necessarily experts at using all the bells and whistles quite yet with Figma, but we are going to show off today at least, what are a few of the kind of the main core areas where we've leveraged Figma for Power BI that's helped us advance, um, business initiatives or data initiatives for some of our clients, which has been awesome at facilitating that experience from a design and iteration standpoint. One of them being obviously conceptual mockups. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I've been a consultant for a long time or an analyst or a data viz person, someone who's tasked with creating reports for stakeholders and business users and so on and so forth. So if you've been in that game, you're in that game, you know how hard it is to, elicit requirements and then try to draw out some vision of what that stakeholder or a group of stakeholders might be looking for from an end game. So what is what are they actually looking for? And then obviously you're advising too, as maybe a database designer expert. You're looking to add in your own ideas around what are some of the database best practices and so on and so forth. So as you're going through that, this is using Figma to build this conceptual mockup without coding anything has been awesome. It speeds things up. You're kind of looking at how to solve the problem, which is like how to answer business questions, how to get the metrics out there on the page, on the canvas that's going to answer those business questions so that they can hopefully drive better decisions by business holders or business stakeholders. And so you're not tied down necessarily to, hey, let me go open up Power BI and hopefully get and wait for the data warehouse team to finally give me maybe some sampling of data or wait for access to get into the dimensional model or this or that, right? There's a whole bunch of technical hoops to sometimes go through before you even can get to the design part. So to kind of remove all that tech part, it's really easy to start from a conceptual standpoint. Let's use Figma and a blank canvas to just essentially sketch out and draw out what you guys are, what the user might want to see and how they might want to interact with something. So that was like a light bulb in my head. I know in the past I've done, whiteboarding literally in conference rooms with stakeholders, and then or drew things out in OneNote, right? Quick sketches, right? If you're on the fly in a meeting, and that could lead into, hey, let me use PowerPoint to curate some really beautiful pages that would essentially be visualizations of what we're going to build in Power BI. So all those, those are all the tools and the methods that we've had in the past. Said I got to get out of the PowerPoint game, right? And figure out and learn Figma and see where the advantages are. And it was pretty much, like I said, like a light bulb going off. And as soon as I started, I had a few hours to kind of get into it. And as soon as I kind of saw the lights, I was able to kind of move forward with some design for some of my clients. The other part is, hey, we might have a long road on some of from conception to, or like conceiving the idea, right? Like I want this dashboard report with a stakeholder now I've got to get through requirements and business questions and metrics and definitions and all this good stuff. So we can quickly iterate and start to kind of put stuff on a conceptual mockup and go back and forth and iterate, get feedback. That feedback loop is pretty awesome with stakeholders. It just lessens the risk so that there's not some major reveal 3 months later and we completely got it wrong. So, I encourage rapid prototyping or rapid design in Figma. get the eyeball test from and feedback from the stakeholders, and then iterate from there. And it's not me recoding something. It's going, oh, you don't like that here? Let me throw that out the window and put something else here, or let me choose a different visual that's going to better represent that data. Way more flexible and quicker at getting buy-in from stakeholders. And then obviously the design standards and branding. A lot of enterprise companies, right? They have their own branding and colors, and they want consistency. And I'm all for that because you're going to raise adoption. There's going to be a level of like certification and standards around the look and feel of data products that are ultimately delivered to the stakeholders. So this is another way to ensure and kind of give that comfort level to the stakeholders that, hey, we are following the branding rules. We're putting good design standards in place here, and it's going to look and feel great. So raise the adoption. Wireframes, the other part of this is pretty awesome. It's just creating wireframes. I've been a snag an editor or PowerPoint guy, or build out your wireframe on a blank page in Power BI, take a screenshot, and then embed that, right? Like there's all sorts of ways to kind of get that beautiful wireframe. And this is another easy way to kind of use Figma and keep you as a designer in that environment. So as you're kind of doing conceptual mockups, now you kind of have a baseline for, I wonder what, that's going to help drive your wireframing. And so now you can start to create that library of essentially like exported images like JPEGs or SVGs, and get those out into a SharePoint shared folder, right? And your designers can start to leverage those, pull them off the shelf, and make your Power BIs look super pro and beautiful from the get-go. All right. Yeah, before we dive in, obviously, right, like there's a ton of resources out there. I was just going to name a few today to maybe have you guys check these out, or help you guys have some frame of reference or frame of mind around creating or going out and having some ideas around good design for data viz. And one is the storytelling with data, the chart guide. I know we all kind of know maybe that storytelling with data, that first book that came out years ago. They've had a couple books since then that are amazing. They have their websites, and on their website is this chart guide. So that's kind of what I did, was like, hey, whether it's Power BI or another BI tool, I just want to look at charting from a agnostic standpoint. Like what are the different chart types? And so that kind of gave me an idea of, I want to make sure I bake these out, or kind of create these different versions of charts as pictures essentially in Figma, and then I can drag and drop those onto canvases. And I'll show you that in a minute here. The other one is Big Book of Dashboards. That's been out for a while. I know there's a couple other ones since then. I think a recent one by Steve Wexler. Great book. Also kind of just goes into good data viz principles, how you might lay out visualizing data for the purposes of dashboards and reports and enterprise business stakeholders. And so I highly recommend that. Also, hey, do away with all the education at times. If you just need inspiration to make your Power BI dashboard not look like a Power BI dashboard that came out of the most basic level 1 kind of version, right? Go find some inspiration. There's all sorts of resources online. I like Dribble. If you go to Dribble and just type in dashboard design, you get all sorts of just real quick clickable examples that you can glean from certain maybe data, like web design type elements. You're like, oh, I like how they did that button here. I bet I could do that in Power BI and help that user experience be more web-like than having a user kind of travel through parameters and filters and slicers, right, to try to get down to the data that they need. If we make these interfaces more web-like and easier and more intuitive, all the better. Same with Pinterest. Hopefully everyone's heard of Pinterest, right? Just a couple sites, right? And I know there's a lot more out there. But yeah, get that inspiration and then go have fun. All right.
Scott. It looks like we do have one question in the chat from Alan here asking about the difference between mockups and wireframes.
Oh yeah, I guess in my definition that I'm kind of talking through, mockup was like a visual representation of like here's the visuals and how this is what we're going to go build in Power BI. Here's like the blueprint. We're going to put these KPIs up here and a bar chart down here and what have you. And so that mockup then is as close to a real representation to what it's going to look and feel like for a stakeholder before we actually go out and do it in Power BI. Wireframes, we'll talk through that in a second here. That's just the background image that'll help kind of paint that template on a page in Power BI, and then you just throw your actual visuals on top, and we'll get in that demo here right now.
Yeah, I think this will make more sense once we show this here.
All right. Yeah, am I diving in first here, Elliot? I can.
Yeah, I can share my screen, but
No,
if you share, you have full control over what you want to show specifically.
Absolutely, all good. All right. Dive in here. So welcome to Figma. All right. So Elliot gave you the A, B's, and C's. Again, this is like Command Central down here. Your little toolbar. Elements that you create are all going to be on the left-hand side. And then if you want to essentially modify the look and feel of one element, your pane over here on the right side is available, and you can make all those tweaks. So honestly, the learning curve for me was pretty fast. Actually, I was a little bit intimidated at first, right? Everything looks very clean, very black and white. I'm like, where's all the nice buttons? I'm used to like PowerPoint and maybe a balsamic and things like that. So getting my head wrapped around learning something new was a little scary, right? But exciting at the same time. Watched a couple of videos. There's some good learn Figma videos out there on the basics. I recommend you guys watch a few of those, but you don't have to go hours and hours. I'm talking like 20, 30 minutes, get the basics, and then really just start playing. Yeah, so real quick, I'll say on the mock-up side, our one recommendation is, hey, I wanted control over what elements I wanted were available for me to then drag and drop onto a conceptual page in Power BI, right? So if I want to build up my own chart library, I'll call it. So there's different bar chart, there's different chart types. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna excuse me, I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm gonna build some of these out, and none of these are not data driven, right? These are just objects. These are just rectangles and everything else to make this pictorially look like a bar chart. So I'm not going to put labels on it. Again, this is more of a conceptual frame of mind. So like this vertical bar chart, right? Each one of these items is a different elements. Here's a line and rectangles and so on and so forth. And I can put a white box around it, call it vertical bar chart. And now it's something I can pull off the shelf and drag into a mock-up, and I'll show you that here in a second. So this is kind of where I was going to for a second, the storytelling with data chart guide online. It's going, hey, what different bar charts are there, or line charts and so on and so forth. It gave me the idea of, because once I start to look at the requirements of the dashboard I'm building, I need to try to pick an effective visual that's going to represent and decode that data, right? So that's kind of where I got the inspiration from making my own chart library within Figma, and now it becomes that library that I can drag and drop and reuse on different designs. If I go down here, area graphs, right? Line charts. Obviously, we all know like year over year, right? So maybe this is like a current year for the blue line, and last year is that gray line. For me to kind of have the data ready to do that in Power BI in a design might take a while, and then I got to create DAX. But if I just want to visually, align with the stakeholder that like, hey, we're going to put a year over year line chart over here in the bottom left of this Power BI page. Let's just lay it all out, and then we're going to talk through the user experience on gaining insights from this. So this is all conceptual. There's no data behind this. It's not animated. There's no clicks, if you will, at this point. But it's just a way to start to lay things out so we can hone in on the vision of what it might feel like. Obviously, like tree maps and bubble charts, and kind of wanted all the things to be available to me should I want to introduce or suggest those in a design. Hey, we all know, here I can give you a little more space here. We all know tables are where certain business users are coming from, right? If they haven't really worked with a Power BI before, they've probably been working with Excel. They're getting data dumps from somewhere. They're scraping data from other places. And so once you kind of you definitely want to make sure that, hey, Power BI obviously has tables, right, or matrices, and you can also dress up those tables with, certain mini charts, right? Try to glean some more insights or embed some of those insights like spark lines or ranked and rated bar charts right inside a table to kind of enhance and help them find those data insights faster. Heat maps are huge, right? I mean, I just kind of put this together. Obviously, it looks a little crazy, a little hodgepodge at the moment. But the point is, like, we're trying to get across the point of, like, hey, you can looking at a wall of numbers, even in Power BI, is not going to maybe help you spot the insight or the thing that you need to go take action on quickly. So let's use color and heat mapping, right, to draw out those items onto the page quicker. So lots of good stuff here from like a library standpoint. We can talk through, more after this. Shoot us a note, and we can give anyone here maybe some more guidance on how you might want to create your own library here. So it was very DIY, but again, it's something that's starting to now take shape and get more miles out of it. Here's an example of something we created. Oops, sorry about that. Let me size this up for you. Hey, here's just an example of a Power BI page. So you bring out, you bring out a rectangle, right? Maybe I have this light gray. Now I'm going to start to lay out certain objects and maybe even start to paint in what metrics these objects represent. I know I'm going to have some slicers up top here. I made this slicer as an object, so now I can just drag and drop it or copy and paste. There you go. I want another one over here. I don't, obviously, but and so I can start to kind of show, like, here's where my logo is going to go. Here's my title. I can tell the customer if you click on this question mark, a new page is going to come up, and we're going to design that here in a second for help and FAQs. Data last updated. You can do different things, like if you wanted a more button type slicer to change all of your visuals from week, month, year to date. Now you can do that in a single click, right? So you're trying to design the user experience to be more web-like versus having to have like 50 pages different variations of the same visualizations. So, like, do you want to see all your restaurants or your comparable restaurants? This is just like a use case for a restaurant industry, a customer that we were working with. And so all these things can be moved around, right? If I didn't like this here, I wanted this over here, and I'll put the line chart. So imagine you're facilitating some of the design sessions, maybe with a small stakeholder group, right? And you're in real time making suggestions and moving things around in items, and it's pretty powerful in that standpoint. One, it helps them, put some of the power in their hands. You're gonna hopefully learn if this is going to hit the mark sooner rather than later, especially with project budgets and what have you. You want to make good use of time and hit the mark on those decided upon milestones. So this has been hugely helpful. These are all individual objects, right? And then once you have all these objects, then you can select all these and go ahead and group them up, like group selection, and you kind of see everything that's in here. So if maybe I didn't want this, this element here, this like down arrow, if I wanted to, I can just remove that. It's gone from here, or I can remove it from here as well. And so it's very easy and fast to just mess with those items conceptually and kind of visually versus me working and fumbling around with the exact look and feel in the new KPI card in Power BI. We all know there's 1,000 formatting options, and now it's generally available now in the November version of Power BI, which is awesome. But again, I can kind of stay out of the tech and let me just lay the data out for what the business questions are going to help get answered through these metrics and visuals. Real quick, if I want to, I can. Here's the thing: I can copy and paste. And here you go. So if I wanted to say, hey, here's my second page that the user is going to move to, and I wanted to do less of a KPI, more of a drill through or drill down into more data. That's a little bit more granular, right? So now I can maybe copy this guy. Just like Elliot was showing here a minute ago, like this is going to be responsive. I'll probably have to make that. Bring to front. Right, it's going to resize accordingly. Might not look perfect. That's okay. Again, we're driving vision, not perfection at this point. So now I can talk through the experience to the user and say, hey, user is going to land here in this Power BI report. They're going to look at their sales, up or down, green or red. They see a red. They might want to ask more questions about it. And now they can right-click, drill through to this page, and now they can get a breakdown into further detail into that business area, those restaurant sales, what have you, and try to further spot where they might be going wrong. And hopefully it's something that they can take action on and make a good decision. So this has been supremely powerful at building these views out. What I've done with stakeholders is, with clients is then I may not have the whole review group in Figma. I might have some of them in there with me, kind of hashing these design elements out. But sometimes kind of milestone times, I may like some check-ins, if you will. I'll maybe screenshot or export these out into a PowerPoint, if you will, so that it's much more easy to kind of go page to page in a PowerPoint of like screenshots of these pages so that the flow is easier. So if I'm talking to a CIO or the CFO, right, I can quickly go through page to page versus kind of fumbling around in Figma. Yeah, no offense, right? Super great tool. More of the design canvas for designers, not necessarily for presentations to C-level. So that experience has worked out really great for a few of our clients already, and we're going to continue down this path. All right, Elliot, sorry, time check. I'll move on here.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Good time.
Yeah, feel free to drop questions in the chat, and Tommy, keep me honest if there's anything timely I should answer here.
Yep, not seeing anything in the chat right now, but I did have a quick question. So let's say if you've got a design asset library, is there a mechanism to like export and import those assets into a different, I can see you're nodding your head already there. Okay. So like if you had let's say like a client account with Figma, but you wanted to transfer, design assets that you already have over there, you can export and import that relatively easily.
Yeah, that's a good question, Elliot. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you could honestly, there are a few things you could do. You could literally copy and paste them into a new design file within a different team in Figma. Okay. So that's one option, but that's what I would probably do, honestly. I would just copy and paste it. That's the easiest route. I'm not gonna, you could probably export all of these wireframes and then you can import them, but I think it would just be easier to copy and paste.
Yep, and I guess even depending on how many assets you're looking to transfer over,
Yeah.
right? But okay, yeah, nice to see that there are options there. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, personally, I did recently want to use a lot of these assets that Scott created, and I had no problems just copying them and pasting them over into my desired environment.
Awesome.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Elliot, do you want me to
Yeah, I
continue
can
on
do this
wireframes?
first. Yeah. Do you want to?
Perfect.
If you want to, you can. But I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I can crank through it quick, and then
Cool.
because I know we'll definitely get
Yeah.
to the exciting thing with AI with Make as well.
Yep. I'll show that
Okay.
part.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so think conceptual mockups that I just went over, and now we're kind of moving into, hey, wireframes, right? So what we can do here is like think of this as that background, wallpaper that you can now take that image, that exported image that we're going to do here in a second, and get it into Power BI. So for instance, you can create different wireframes. Now I've got a library that I can share out with my team, and they can pull those off the shelf and add them in. So for instance, even if I looked at this one and I'm like, hey, I don't really need that. I don't need these guys here. I'm just going to get rid of these. I think I'm going to have 5 KPIs I'm going to mess with. So maybe I need a couple more of these boxes here. Love Figma, like the IntelliSense, I guess I call it, right? Like it immediately helps you know, like if you're spaced out. Of course, you can click and drag, items, right? And make sure that you align them in some positions and alignment up here. Yeah, and now I messed everything up. There you go. Boom. And boom. All right. This is all grouped up into a frame, right? So if it's in a frame and if it's not, you just have to bring out a frame and then put those elements in it and kind of group it all up. But what I can do here is I can export this down in the lower right corner, export that wireframe. Voila, I have a JPEG. Obviously, we don't want these things just living on local machines. So export and create these things and then put them into like a designer SharePoint folder for all your Power BI designers that who can access those. Pretty awesome, because then I can pop over to Power BI. For instance, I've been wallpaper, canvas settings. I've been going with a custom resolution lately. Same with Braden, like a 1920 by 900. And that gives me a little bit more width. And the depth is the height is still pretty good. It's not going to fall off the page or cause any kind of vertical scrolling. But now what I can do for this page, I can come over here. Is it background, I believe? Grab that wireframe, get rid of the transparency, go to fill, and voila. So if I want to, I can bring out sales, change that to a KPI. I'm just going to start to just give you guys the notion, right, of like what it can look like. Start lining things up. Maybe I have country as a filter here or a slicer. Let me go to drop down. Bring this bad boy up here. There we go. Right. Maybe I do cost of goods sold by year, maybe month. Just throw this in there quick. Voila. Put that. Go. And obviously not great looking, but we can deal with that later. There we go. 2014, and I can do the month name and then do the sorts and all that stuff. Now you can start to see I've got these nice placeholders. Essentially, these are like boxes that are going to help with the layout, help with the readability. Your users are going to know the look and feel that's going to be consistent across Power BI reports. You guys are probably doing some elements of this today, but what we're just trying to bring to light is, hey, you can build this stuff out collaboratively and in a reusable fashion in Figma. And those now design elements for Power BI are, you can build up that library, and you just, improve your time to value, improve your delivery, your speed of delivery of Power BI reports and dashboards out to stakeholders. You don't have to tell them it took not very much longer, right? Be the hero, look professional, bring consistency and branding to your Power BIs. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. Any questions there on mockups and wireframes? Or anything else I missed, Elliot?
No, this is great.
All right, fantastic.
Hopefully the
Again,
difference between mockups and wireframes is more clear now. Yeah, the wireframe is basically just the actual template without any of the visual elements inside of it. And the mockup has all of those visual elements for you to see.
there you have it. So again, it's me being selfish as a designer. I want flexibility. I want control, and I want this, like, the freedom and the space to design things, and maybe this isn't, like, this guy right here isn't what I'm going to end up with, but I want to kind of put a copy. I could come way over here, right, and be like, what, let me off-road on this guy for a second and see if I can come up with something better. But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily part of, like, maybe my group of approved items over here. Doing this in PowerPoint, right, is way harder. You're bound by time, space, right, within PowerPoint slides. So this has been hugely valuable to kind of bring this canvas and this sandbox environment to the designer's fingertips. All right, Elliot, I will kick it over to you, and we'll go and do some cool stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
And
And real
just
quick
gonna say the
before
question.
Yep. So we've got one question regarding the frame size and resolution size in Power BI, assuming these should be the same, right? Yep. And then one last question around, are the items in your library able to be customized to other colors?
Yes.
I think that would be yes as well, right? And that's
Yes,
even going back to the variables you were showing,
styles.
Elliot.
Yeah. Yep. I'll just share my screen and show you.
Yeah. Take that one, Elliot. Perfect.
Yep. Let's see where it is. Okay. So all of these mockups that we've created, I've created some of these as components, but not all of them are. But what I want to show you is each of these elements within the visual. So each of these columns, I've assigned a BT blue variable here. And what I can do is, I'm going to zoom out so you can see this in action. But I've assigned everything here that is that kind of blue. I've assigned it that variable. And if I go up to my variables and I say, I want this BT blue to be, what should we change it to? Let's do this kind of green, I guess. You can see all of these visuals just updated in an instant because I've assigned it this variable. So I'm changing these items in my library now. And after I've made those changes, I can publish those to the library so that it will now be different. It'll be this kind of green color. But I guess to answer your question, yes, you can update the items in your library and update those styles and the look and the feel. So what I wanted to show next was one of the resources that Scott brought up is called Dribble. And if you go into Dribble and you, for example, search for dashboards because you want inspiration on what a dashboard should look like, you will see a list of examples here. And let's say I want to use this task management dashboard. I could copy this as inspiration, and within this new tool in Figma called Figma Make, which is an AI-powered design tool, I can copy that inspiration here, and I can say, create a Power BI dashboard that uses the various styles in this uploaded dashboard example. I want the data in this dashboard to be related to, let's just say, sales for a bicycle company. I don't know, that's kind of basic, but it works. And then something else I want to show here is, I'm not going to demonstrate this here because we haven't published all of those visual elements to a library, only some, but you can select this library icon here and you can select a library that you want the AI to be using when it creates designs. So for example, let's say I published all of those design visuals that we've created, those column charts and bar charts and line charts and what have you. I could tell this AI tool to use those elements when it's creating its designs, but I'm not going to demonstrate that here. I'm going to demonstrate how it can create a dashboard using inspiration from Dribbble. I will say though, this kind of stuff you have to be careful because this is obviously there's potential intellectual property issues here. Like if you're taking something, let's say from Apple, and you're reusing it, there could be issues there. So you have to be careful about using this as inspiration and not as an end all be all here. But just wanted to demonstrate one use case of Figma Make. Takes a little bit, but you can see it's writing up all of this code here. It's creating HTML and CSS and JavaScript.
Yeah, this is pretty impressive, all the stuff it's generating just from a couple sentence prompt and a screenshot. Yeah, it's really cool.
See what it does. Oh no, that's unfortunate. Let's see, 10 errors, fix it for me. I guess while it's doing this, I don't know why it's having some issues. It made it for me yesterday, but
always fun doing
resulted.
live demos with AI. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, okay, cool. Let's see if it works. All right, it did something. So you can see it was using those colors and created this dashboard. I'm gonna resize this because that'll look prettier. But let's say for some reason, I mean, this doesn't look like something I would ever add to Power BI necessarily, but again, it's inspiration. But what's cool is now that it's created this design, I can, oh, it's not letting me. Yeah, it did. Cool. Okay, so I've copied it up here. This design is created, and if I go into just a regular design file, I can paste that design. Now I have a static design, and I can edit this however I'd like. So let's say I don't like some of these visuals is creative. I want to get rid of that. And I want to get rid of that. And I want to resize this.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what I'm saying? Like it creates a starting point at least, but it's just one use case of
Even like
Figma Make here.
even if you had that there and you created your own white frame to the side and you're like, all right, oh, I like the elements on that KPI. I like how they put like the little up arrow in the upper right corner, and they've got the little, like laying out those KPI boxes is an art form in and of itself. And so that's why it's nice to glean insights from examples from AI generated, examples here, as well as Dribble and Pinterest and so on and so forth, right? Just trying to get good ideas on how things could look really nice and clean and easy to read and easy to highlight the important data with good use of color and context and everything, or contrast and what have you. Yep.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm curious, Elliot, if you were to go back to the screen that
this one, Figma Make.
Is it like Copilot where you can continue the conversation here and say like, hey, this is great, but in that top products, visual users won't have an option to add a new product in Power BI. So could you remove that plus new button? Like, will it handle that style of, okay, yeah, that's super cool.
Does all of that. And if you have the knowledge, you can edit it yourself. It gives you the code, so I can go in and tweak all of this myself, but you have multiple options.
Yep. Low code and pro code, best of both options.
Yes. Something also cool about Figma Make is that you can publish these designs that it's created to this random domain. It's under Figma's domain, but it's this random URL it generates. And so if I publish this, I can share this URL with stakeholders and get some of their buy-in on, this is a dashboard that Figma Make has generated, and these are some of the visuals that we're thinking of adding. What are your thoughts? So you can copy it and paste it, and it will open up on a URL. Bada bing, bada boom. So you can share this with folks and be like, hey, what are your thoughts? So lots of cool tools with Figma Make. And they're really cool. Rolling out every week, new ones. Lots of cool features. So that's all I have to share with Figma Make, but any questions?
Yeah, awesome stuff. I think the only new question that we have in the chat here is regarding licensing. It looks like Scott is on that right now.
Yeah, I'm not the super expert on licensing, but yeah, here's the link to plans and pricing. I know with Baker Tilly, they probably have one of the more enterprise level plans here. And yeah, we, for those of us doing Figma type work or needing that for client projects, we were able to kind of get our name on the list, if you will. So I don't know if they're shared licenses, like a bucket like that, or if it's an actual named seat. But that's given us kind of full reign to build our content in Figma unlimited. I will say, like I mentioned earlier, I think the free Figma license allows users to actually just at least see, like we can share our Figma with someone so they can at least view what we've kind of put together. So that's kind of nice if we want them to collaborate and edit and be part of the design process. They likely need their own license. And then also I'll say for maybe those bigger milestone kind of check-in calls on a project, right? You may do everything you want in Figma, and then screenshot or export certain elements in your Figma design out to, some Word doc or PowerPoint slide, and that now you've got the kind of the proof and something you're able to kind of share with, review with stakeholders without license concerns.
All
Yeah,
right, very good.
Any other
Yeah.
questions? Awesome.
All right, if no other questions, let's just move into some quick announcements here for upcoming events. So we are actually kicking back off in the new year, January 15th, 2026, for our next Madison Fabric user group meeting. I think just due to the holidays coming up and, PTO, et cetera, decided to not have a session for December. So we do look forward, though, to our next session in January, and we'll have more details to come around the presentation there very soon. We will also be in Atlanta in March for the Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. So looking forward to seeing you guys there. And with that being said, as always, we are looking for speakers. So if you have any interest in giving a future presentation, please reach out to either myself or Chris Wagner. Would love to get more people involved here. And last but not least, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this month's session. Great job, Elliot and Scott. And we will see you guys next time. Happy holidays for everyone coming up here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.